The real reason some home treatments seem to work has very little to do with what people think. Most assume it's either pure luck, or some kind of old wives' tale that just happens to help once in a while. But that explanation falls apart the moment you start seeing the same patterns repeat across completely different situations, because when people lose access to hospitals, prescriptions, and professional care, something unexpected happens. They don't just give up, they adapt, and in many cases, they start relying on simple treatments, things they can do at home, with basic tools, or even with items they already have. At first, it sounds risky, even irresponsible, but then you look closer. In places where medical systems became unreliable, like during long-term blackouts or economic collapse, people didn't have the luxury of waiting for perfect conditions. They had to act with what was available, and over time, certain methods kept showing up again and again, not because they were trendy, but because they actually helped. Still, this creates a frustrating contradiction. If some home treatments work, why aren't they more widely understood? Why do so many people feel completely unprepared the moment something goes wrong? The typical answer is that real medical care is too complex to replicate at home. That without professional training, most people would only make things worse. So people default to doing nothing, or waiting, even when time is exactly what they don't have. Think about common situations. A high fever in the middle of the night. A deep cut that needs immediate attention. A sudden pain that could mean something serious or nothing at all. Most people hesitate. Not because they don't care, but because they don't know what's safe to do, and that hesitation is where things often escalate. But here's where things start to shift, because not all home treatments are random guesses. Some are based on very basic medical principles: pressure, cleanliness, inflammation control, circulation, timing, the same principles used in professional settings, just applied in simpler ways. The problem is, from the outside, these actions don't look like medicine. They look too simple, too accessible, too easy to dismiss. So they get labeled as unreliable, even when they're grounded in logic. It's similar to how people think about expired medications. Most assume they instantly become dangerous after a certain date, but in reality, many remain stable far longer than expected, something only discovered through real-world necessity when people had no other option. The pattern is the same. Surface-level assumptions versus deeper structural understanding, and this is where most people get stuck. They try to evaluate home treatments individually. Does this one work? Is this safe? Should I try this? But that's the wrong lens, because the real issue isn't that home treatments are unreliable. It's that most people don't understand why some of them work in the first place. Once you understand the structure behind them, everything changes. You stop seeing isolated tricks, and start seeing systems. For example, treating a wound isn't just about the product you use. It's about reducing contamination, controlling bleeding, and supporting the body's ability to close and repair tissue. Whether that happens in a hospital, or in a basic home setup, the underlying goal is the same. The difference is in precision, tools, and experience, not in the fundamental logic. The same goes for managing common illnesses: fever, respiratory issues, digestive problems. These all follow patterns. When people understand those patterns, they're no longer reacting blindly. They're making informed decisions, and that's the turning point. The real issue isn't access to complex medical tools. It's the lack of clear, structured understanding of how to respond when something goes wrong. Once that gap is filled, even simple actions become more effective. Not perfect, not a replacement for professional care when it's available, but significantly better than hesitation, guesswork, or panic. And this is exactly why more people have started looking into practical, at-home medical knowledge, not to replace doctors, but to bridge the gap between nothing and professional help. Because in many situations, that gap is where outcomes are decided. Understanding what to do in those first moments before things escalate can change how a situation unfolds entirely. It doesn't require years of training, but it does require clarity. A way to see what actually matters, and what doesn't. If you want to go deeper into that, there's a structured breakdown linked in the description that walks through these concepts step by step, using real examples and simple frameworks you can understand and apply. And if this kind of perspective helps you think more clearly about situations like this, you can subscribe for more videos that break down complex topics into practical understanding, because sometimes, the difference isn't doing more, it's finally understanding what you're doing.